My view is neither of our two speakers today really need an introduction. They are our very own Josie Hardy and Bob Erickson. So Josie is the owner of Josie Hardy and Associates, which is a private rehabilitation organization, and she is a freelance advocate for patients trying to navigate within our healthcare and insurance system. And she travels extensively on mission trips around the world, and I believe the most recent one, Josie, was to the Philippines on a medical mission. Bob Erickson has his master's in accounting from the University of Minnesota. He's retired from his senior vice president position at the University of Minnesota, where he managed finance and space. His hobbies include biking, including many extensive trips biking across Europe, around Europe, and across the United States. And he also really enjoys music and sings in his church choir. So with that, please join me in welcoming Josie and Bob.
We'll get this out here so you can hear us, and we'll get Josie up here. Come on, Josie. You can stand up here with me. So actually, Josie is the elegant one, and we're still getting letters and comments from the people of both Nepal and Bhutan, thanking her for her wonderful contributions to the economy.
Oh yes.
I think if Josie ever goes back, they're going to have another factory created to take and make scarves, and then also some craftsmen making Buddhas. So I think the country kind of came out of it, but we had a great time. Now we have one other person that was on our trip, MacDonald, and she said she's here to see what we're doing. Actually, this presentation was put together by somebody else, Jeannie Zita, that some of you may know, no, she's Eden Prairie. So at any rate, and I have to thank Don Stiles for his wonderful help in terms of getting this started. I'm not very proficient at this stuff, and Don, as you know, is very proficient. So we'll see if it works. To explain this picture, some of you people may know this guy. His name is Mark Lewis. He's with the Eden Prairie Club. He is about 6'2", 6'3", maybe a little bit more, and the girl that is sitting next to him was one of our guides in Nepal, who's probably 5 feet if she comes up to that. 4'10", all right. So that's where the Jeannie Zita put this thing up here in terms of land of the tallest mountains and shortest people. Bhutan is the land of gross national happiness and tiger's nests. This gentleman here that is right here is very senior in the Buddhist hierarchy. He spent about an hour with us talking about some of the things. And then this, on the other side, is the tiger's nest. But this whole concept of gross national happiness is something that it is quite unique, although I should put it into context. It's probably gross national happiness if you're a Buddhist. If you happen to be Hindu, it's not, because you probably were asked to leave the country a number of years ago. So you have a situation, and I think this happens in many countries of the world, where you have one group that dominates, and they kind of want the place for themselves. But the whole concept, Bhutan as a country has made a very rapid transition from being a complete monarchy. They've gone to kind of a modified situation now. But for many, many years, they were very isolated. It's a very small country, about 600,000 people, nestled up by the Himalayas. Because of the size of the country and that, it's still lush and green and trees and everything else, and so it's just beautiful to visit. My wife and I had visited there about 6 or 7 years before, and were amazed at the transition that's occurred in Bhutan. At that time that we were there were about 20,000 tourists a year that could come in. Now there's 250,000. So the whole thing has just really changed, and the country's rapidly going through many changes. So Josie, chime in as we go along in this thing, because you probably have more interesting stories. These are our travelers. Many of you may know Larry Zillox. Larry was the district governor for 5950, has done a lot of travel. Josie and I obviously here, and my wife went along also, and we all had a great time. This is a picture of us out in front of the hotel in Kathmandu. For those of you who don't know, this is my wife. I get the pointer here. Let's see where my light is. Well, I don't know, Don.
Okay, standing with Josie.
Okay. Right here. Okay. The purpose of the trip was to meet with Rotary Clubs in Kathmandu and Bhutan to discuss potential partnerships, perform a service project in each country, meet people, see sites, and experience culture in both countries, build relationships among Rotarians and friends from District 5950. And we can talk some more as we go on about some things that came out of this, but it's fascinating, and I would like to very much see if we can't maybe think about getting an exchange student from Nepal. I think that would be good for the club. They are very interested in doing some vocational exchanges, and Don Stiles and I have been working on that on another project that I think Don will be presenting a little more competently than I coming up one of these weeks, and talk about some of the things we learned in Germany. But the people in Nepal are very interested in doing what they can to raise the educational level and working with a lot of people other than academics. This is an orphanage. As you may be well aware, in many of these countries, there are a lot of children that are born out of wedlock, out of other situations. The parents simply can't afford them. And so this group of children are all housed. They live on the premises, and there's actually 2 different facilities. We spent actually almost 2 days with them. And again, it's much like being with Sonia and seeing these Dalit women and things with Nuri Gunjan, or visiting some of the other projects, I mean, again, or with the Bulls things. You come away changed. You won't do these things without taking and really having a new appreciation of both what we have and what it means to the other people to have these things. So these kids just steal your heart, and you can see that they're really pretty well kept and pretty well mannered, and we saw an awful lot of kids in Kathmandu that weren't. I've traveled all over the whole world and been in a lot of places that had poverty, but Nepal, for those of you that don't know, is only 1 step above Bangladesh in terms of national income. And Kathmandu as a city is probably one of the dirtiest cities I've ever been in. Josie, you've been around a lot, but I mean, I was just taken aback by really just the lack of sanitation, just dirt everywhere. I mean, you just couldn't hardly escape it, so it was really eye-opening. This is the person who founded this school. And again, I mean, all over the world, you have people like this that just take and give generously of their time. This is what the Life Vision Academy looks like. You can see it's not real deluxe looking, but it is. This building here is the main thing, and this is where they eat. So these are the school classrooms and things, and they have a playground. Now, since we were there, money was raised by the local club and some others to actually pave that lot that was kind of sand gravel. So it's going to be a lot better situation, because when it rains, obviously it gets to be pretty hard to get around. This is the dormitory. It's located about a block away. You can see how it's set up for the kids, so it's just fascinating. This, for those of you that travel in this part of the world, is the standard toilet, if you can find one. Abul now, his one concession to aging is the fact that in his unit in India, he has a regular sit-down toilet. So I think we can give him that latitude, because he's actually, as I've said before, living like a monk when he's there most of the time.
I would like to add that in the dormitory of the children, there's about 36 to 46, and the principal of the school lives in that dormitory to keep track of everybody so that they are not going from room to room and doing all the things that the children probably would like to do. But the school principal lives in that dormitory.
Well, you can just see these kids are really cute. This is the guide from our trip who actually had, I think she was homeless herself, wasn't she? Yes. So just fascinating to see. So this was our service project, and we spent a day there. So the first day was reading and looking at them. When we were there, we asked what they needed. And so on our way back, we stopped and bought a whole bunch of paper supplies. We bought a bunch of backpacks for them. We bought sanitary napkins, things like that, because there were things hard for them to get. So you can see us here. This is actually making something called momos, where you take dough and then put kind of a spicy mixture in the middle, fry them, and so that was kind of a project we did with them, but just fascinating. They were dancing for us. These kids, I mean, they had these costumes and stuff. It was just fantastic, what they did, and you see how much stimulation it provides for them. Okay, whitewashing walls. They had one room, and we got involved with this. It's I've never seen anything quite like it. This whitewash is just very sloppy. I mean, all of us were almost covered from head to toe with this. But it did wash off easily, so it was not hard to deal with. This is a picture of all the supplies and stuff that we got for them. Here you can see Josie. She's got a little mark on her forehead, which they put on all of us when we got there to welcome us.
And the supplies that we had purchased is for the whole year, including their books, their notebooks, their health care, and backpacks, and it's for a whole year.
Now this is back in Nepal, and so again we're sitting there. We're having an exchange with 3 or 4 clubs there. This is the Lewis's daughter, who actually is in club number 1 in Chicago. So she's really done a lot, and it was just fascinating. So there are some possible projects in Kathmandu, biofuel, and the local Rotary there has done quite a bit with that, where they will take and provide the capital expenditure to get these conversion units, and they've took one project and have really done a lot in that area. Medical care, school supplies, buffalo project, again, with many of these, if they can have a buffalo, then they can get the milk. Microfinancing, and then the Life Vision Academy. The local Rotary Club had not been active with this Life Vision Academy before. In between the time that we were in Kathmandu and then went to Bhutan and came back, they had already gone out and visited that club, and they had already started to do some things with it. So again, it was just fascinating how quickly they reacted.
Kathmandu is very willing to be a host for all the Rotarians, or they are willing to work with the academy because it's such a small, and what they're asking is so little, and it's very affordable. And Bob, the Life Vision Academy for the playground grant that was completed by the Edina Country Club, in which it was like 1,200, and that was from the Edina, Rotary.
This is just some of the scenes, and again, it's a fascinating city. There are lots of stupas, lots of different things. Again, the culture there, obviously, because it's at the nexus of Buddhism and Hinduism, is very interesting, and you just see an awful lot of different people and a lot of different things. Again, just some more pictures on that. This is cute, shoot fire.
Shoot fire. What's the right on that, those wires?
Well, and Don can actually explain that too. This is similar all over this part of the world. It's I don't know how they ever diagnose an electrical wiring problem. Don had one in the pictures last year from our trip, and again, we were just appalled, that these things can actually work. But and one of the major problems they have in India is getting the people to pay for their power. So they have some major fallbacks, and of course, a bull can tell you that power is quite irregular, and well, that's why you've gotten some of the rooftop units for generations, so these got better continuity.
One thing to keep in mind specifically when it comes to the power thing, in a lot of these countries, an electrician's job is actually one of the most dangerous.
Yes.
Because they actually put their aluminum ladders against the live wires when they're working on them. So if there's any electricians in the room, be happy you're practicing here.
Also in Kathmandu, we're sitting in a restaurant like this and the lights, everything goes off for a while. And it comes back on again. And it does that throughout the whole day, everywhere, throughout the city.
You will be surprised, almost everyone in the villages in India is an electrical engineer.
Are they?
You get people who work with no safety devices. They will be working, know nothing about it, much less engineering. They know nothing about electricity. And they get a shock, and they are brought to our hospital to be treated.
Well, here you can see I was talking before about the smog and stuff. It's just incredible. This picture up here. I mean, that was typical when you look out in the morning and just see it. You just realize what that does to your lungs day in and day out. They have, here's some people up in the other corner up there just getting water. The water supply is uncertain. This, is typical in any part of the world. The labor is done pretty much by hand, and you that's the way you get things done. Here's my wife looking at some on-street cooking. I'm not sure that she ate any of it. But, it does look good. Again, the kids, and what really amazes me is how in this environment they manage to keep clean. I mean, really, they really work at it, and you really see that, and there's a lot of pride. And so the kids typically wear uniforms and stuff when they're going to school. Now, this was a memorable day. For a number of people. Some of us hiked both up and down. Some people took motorcycle rides back.
I did not.
Oh, you did?
Only for a couple.
You did too, Josie. You wrote.
I did.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, that was just physically very demanding.
So I can give a little introduction to this. So we are, of course, in the land where people come there to trek Mount Everest. And our guide who was planning this trip is in his 40s. And he took this trek for us. And he said, I've taken it. He had people who could tell us who the birds were and all the plants. So we had wonderful guides. But he didn't tell us that a soft hike to him is about 10 miles. 5 up, 5 down, straight down practically. It was quite an adventure, and I was one of the few that was so glad when about 2 miles from the bottom, one of the guides brought a motorcycle up and brought us down the last 2 miles.
Initially, okay, but now, and here's Bob with his lungs, just like doing his aria voice, just like singing.
There's a bright golden haze on the meadow.
Switch back.
It's like the song's music.
Yeah, you can see it. Don showed me how to do this now. See? I may actually get, so I'm proficient, but you can see the pathways there. And you see, I'm not sure, is that, no, that's not Josie. That's somebody else. Yeah. But there we are. And here, obviously, we're having the obligatory beer when we got done.
Was that Northfield Cafe?
Yes. Oh, yes. Yeah, there's a Northfield Cafe in Kathmandu we went to.
But this is a Northfield here. No, this is Evergreen Restaurant. Okay, this is a Rotary Club in Bhutan, in Thimphu, which is the capital. And they only have one club in all of Bhutan.
And they just started about a year ago. They're really new.
So they were very gracious, and we had a nice time. There was also some visiting club members from India that were there that same night.
And from Cologne,
Yeah.
Germany.
Yeah. So our project there was helping to pick up garbage on the main street.
Excuse me, waste management.
Well, I would say in this case, garbage was more appropriate. Because it ran the gamut of everything from condoms, used condoms, to anything else that your imagination could come. And fortunately, we had plastic gloves and things on as we went through. So there actually was a television crew that was following us because they're trying to take and raise the profile of keeping your country clean. So I have to tell you that the only 2 Rotarians out of our whole group that made it on the television clip were Josie and I, for some reason.
They became famous. People recognized 10 o'clock news.
You can see the masks there too. I mean, again, here. Cheryl's got a mask on there, which was also for some of the things you kind of needed. You could see the people there had them. So this is just the crew that did this. We were lined up in front. And again, this is, from a standpoint of scenery, this is probably one of the most beautiful, pristine places in the world. And they are really going through a major change. You really can see how, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, nobody had TVs, nobody had internet, nobody had anything. And they're making a very rapid transition. This is this is our guide, and that's the national costume. It's kind of I don't know, well, it's not a toga really. It's just it's kind of like a bathrobe, and then they put the shawl. They usually don't. They have to have this shawl on there when they're in a temple precinct. So that's part of the Buddhist thing, but. These buildings are very interesting. They're built out of pounded earth with wood, and so I saw one under construction right there before. We didn't then. This is in the main temple palace area in Thimphu, and this wallpaper was, or this was a mural that we were looking at there. This is the largest Buddhist, I think, in the world. It's being financed by the Chinese government and some others, but it's just huge. Yep. And then this is a memorial in Thimphu itself to, what was it, the father of the former king, I think, or mother?
It's being financed by the Chinese government?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, you have this interplay in that whole area. Bhutan is essentially controlled by India. There's Indian military there, there's everything there. China would like to have a presence any place around there. I mean, Abul can tell you, Sonia can tell you, I mean, there's kind of tensions there all the time, although they seem to be somewhat resolving, but it's a major issue. So the Chinese are looking for ways that they could make a contribution.
So I didn't see Japanese. Yeah. Contesting everywhere.
These are just some pictures. We asked some of the people. These people were sitting out in front of some of the temples and things. So we asked somebody how old they were. Well, they're probably 45 or 50. They get married young. They have their families. Then they, around that age, they just kind of. So it's, it's a little different than we wouldn't even think about.
Just to tell you about our trek, the guide says, well, how old are these people from America? And the guide said, about 60. My God, they're old. It's just like, no, this is America. They're young, 60-year-olds.
And we're getting younger all the time. You know, you guys didn't realize that I had Marty Seifert with as my show last week. So this is one of the national animals there. I forget what they call it, Josie. It was on a, but this is the national sport, archery. And just to give you an idea of how things have changed, when my wife and I were there 7 or 8 years ago, on the side of most of the houses, they had a large phallic symbol. Large, I mean like maybe 12, 15 feet with the sizing all the way through. With archery, if you lost at archery, you had to wear this phallic symbol around your neck. Well, in the period since then, all the phallic symbols have pretty much disappeared from the houses, and they no longer do that in archery, but this is the national sport. And it's incredible. They have, for a country that was really separate for many, many years, the first thing they got are all these compound bows. So they have very sophisticated equipment for that because it's important to their culture.
Yeah, and the archers, they're only from the elite and the rich who could afford to do this. They were there for a whole day.
Oh, yeah. So this is just a costume and some of the stuff. Now, this Josie will have to tell you about, maybe Carol.
That was that's our bath. So
A
they asked
stone
us,
bath.
a stone bath. Did we want a stone bath? We had a very different idea of what that was going to be. So it was in a barn on a farm, and there were several of these in a row, and they had hot stones that had been over over a fire, and they just poured water in to make it a hot bath.
And to add a little interest, apparently the guide who was a young male was walking in frequently bringing water to the females, and he was especially giving a lot of attention to this Mandy, who was the youngest one in our group from Chicago. So these are some vegetables and things in the farmer's market. That's the mother and a baby and that. So just fascinating people pictures. This again is, you'll see frequently animals on the road. Somebody's walking along there. Motorcycles, that's the primary method of transportation around. The trucks are fascinating. I've never seen such colorful trucks, and I mean, obviously they live in them, and they're probably, I'd say that the drivers in Nepal and Bhutan were better than India. I mean, the ones in India, except for the very largest cities, you know, traffic signals are only an indicator of what you maybe should do. This again is this is a tiger's nest, which is climbing up. Now we had quite an experience in the tiger's nest. A person who's not, I wasn't in this picture. The woman I was hiking with, Paula Schwartz, who's an audiologist, and I guess we're either ahead or behind. I can't remember. I guess we were ahead of the group, so we didn't. But this is just an absolutely beautiful area. This is the tiger's nest. Cheryl is shown by it. Most of the group didn't go up there. We really didn't have time. My wife and I had been up there 5 or 6 years ago, and it's just spectacular. It's on the side of the cliff, and you can look over it. But this person right here is the Queen of Bhutan. And on the way, she was climbing up as we were climbing down. This Paula and I were ahead of them, and we spent probably 5 or 10 minutes just talking to her. I mean, she's very interested in things. She had actually seen us, heard about our project on TV, about picking up garbage, Josie.
Oh, you did such a good job.
Well, I think she asked a question of, see, she was walking up and she would meet the people as they were hiking. And she asked one of them, one of my friends that was with us, she said, did you really come here to pick up garbage? From USA. Did that.
At any rate, her husband is, what, around 30 or something. He's Wayne Chuck. Yeah. And that's it. Yes, sir.
It's a taken.
Is it?
What was the question? The name of that animal is a taken.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, thank you for that clarification, Jim. I didn't know whether there was. Oh. All right. Well, I would strongly encourage you, and I think Diane and Don Stiles and Carol and Josie. I mean, anybody that's been on these trips, they're a fascinating way to do it. It's also a very cheap way to travel. Our trip to India last year with Diane and Carol and Don and his wife, my wife and I, probably cost about half of what my wife and I had paid for another trip that was similar. And again, in terms of exposure, getting out and seeing things, you see more of the people. The same thing was true with this trip to Bhutan. I think we paid probably twice as much just to go to Bhutan as we did for the Bhutan and Nepal. So, not only are the trips fun in terms of meeting people and having time and doing things, but just the visualization, seeing things, but they're also very reasonable. So give some strong thought to doing that.
Price-wise for Bhutan, there's a definite price-wise $250 per person for all tourists. And
Per day.
That includes per day. That includes your guide, your hotel, your food, but that is going to increase now to $400. So yeah, we pay $250 a day, and that includes everything.
Well, which is why we only spent 5 days in Bhutan, and we were in Nepal a longer period of time.
Do we have, you folks are able to stay around for some questions?
Are we, is that it?
1:30.
Who made your travel arrangements? Is that something you had to do yourselves?
We had travel agents in both cases.
Yeah, Larry Zillox put that together, and we had a guide who was very, very good in trying to put together the project in Kathmandu as well as the project in Bhutan.
And I learned in Bhutan, I had a chance to talk to the owner of the travel agency in Bhutan, and he explained something to me, maybe you guys didn't hear, and that is that the government in Bhutan owns the travel agency. I mean, they own all the travel. Every place we went was pre-approved. They all have to be approved by the government. And basically, you pay a certain dollar amount, but your travel agent puts your whole schedule together. Everywhere you're going to go, where you're going to eat, what you're going to see. Your guides are with you the whole time you're there. They stay in the hotels where you stay. And they submit that to the government of Bhutan to get your visa. They won't sign off on your visa until they know everywhere you're going to be and what you're doing. And at the end, the travel agency pulls all those receipts together and they submit it to the government for reimbursement. So they only get paid because you've had a good experience.
Well, this has been wonderful, and don't go yet.
Okay.
You are wonderful.